Previously on Negative Modifier, J-Cell tracked the ancient Thule Wizard Hairfelder to Malta, Kansas, where they successfully located and eliminated their target. Following the execution of Hairfelder, J-Cell was encouraged and assisted by F-Cell to destroy the Madman's bunker lair and all artifacts within. Before destroying the bunker, J-Cell extracted a collection of natural research notes, tomes, and an suspicious invitation to the Holly Festival in Brookville, Kansas. At the time, J-Cell did not realize that F-Cell was not their unofficial program business and were accused and reprimanded for violating direct orders and potentially blacklisted for their choices. Following their operation, J-Cell agents began to experience a shared hallucination of a yellow question-mark-like sigil manifesting during various parts of their day-to-day life. J-Cell now finds itself metaphorically out in the cold, haunted by the aforementioned Yellow Sigil and rapidly beginning to question everything and everyone around them.
In this episode of Negative Modifier, we'll be playing the game Delta Green. Delta Green, by design, tackles various mature themes that may be uncomfortable or triggering for listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the end of J-Cell in some ways. I guess I'll kind of do a little kind of this will be a little bit weirder, I guess, than the previous stuff. The other one's a little more straightforward. This is definitely some extra weird investigation we're about to get into. And I guess part of me wants to spend a quick second just revisiting your characters, I guess. The members of J-Cell have been through, well, a lot in the last few operations. They have quite literally had their kind of worldview turned upside down its head and shaken vigorously, and lots of horrible things have fallen out. At least one of you's gone insane, or partially insane. Like, one of you keeps having, like, breaks with reality that she recovers from, thankfully, but then they keep happening kind of thing. One of you's in trouble with your job. And now you also have this yellow symbol stalking you in the rest of your life, which is definitely not normal at this point. I guess who wants to go first, I guess? Like, everyone's obviously in a slightly worse spot than they were before they joined Delta Green from a kind of character standpoint. Like, how has Delta Green impacted you as the character at this point? Who wants to go first?
Ancient Jumper will go first.
Cool.
Man. Delta Green has not been nice to Aubrey. Maybe it's because she came into this really not prepared for what she was going to face. Just from the moment there was a crazy monster in a in a sewer tank, and that just started the ball rolling. Reality is breaking around her, finding it harder and harder to discern what's real and what's not is becoming an issue. Seeing messages, seeing clues, and starting. I mean, always was paranoid, but the paranoia, the mistrust, has just. I mean, she was always mistrustful, as an investigator reporter should be. Questioning everything, but now she questions everybody's motives. She questions everybody.
Yeah, hell, your mom, who's suffering dementia, is going on about a town called Carcosa and how you should visit it. And
why is my mom doing that?
Yeah.
And is my mom trying to set me up for a trap? I think my mom is trying to kill me now. Or she needs me to go investigate this. See, that's the thing. That's the problem. I'm not quite sure are things out to get me or are things out to help me? And I can't discern the difference, I'm thinking. Yeah. Poor Agent Jumper's becoming very broken. I'm not even sure if I even have a job anymore.
We'll get to that in a minute, actually. You probably have the safest of jobs since you're kind of freelancy by comparison, but yeah, no, some of you have taken some kind of real risky sick days as a result of all of this. So who next? Let's do jet lag. arguably you and you fared a little bit better from the sanity category of this whole thing than Jumper has, but also like you've also been lucky on the career front. They've been kind of accepting of it. You've managed to use your credentials some and kind of not go totally off the rails in a couple instances. How's jet lag at this point kind of working through all of it?
I think how I would describe his reaction to his experiences so far is a fundamental change in perception of the world. So he was a man of science, of course. He worked for the EPA, environmental scientist, working to protect things. But I think over the course of the past several sessions, he's slowly learned to use an exact skill set. We would say the unnatural has come to the forefront. And basically, not everything can be explained by science, or at least the science we know so far.
As an EPA, used to kind of there being a very specific cause. Bad things happen because someone dumps something or throws something out.
Yeah.
Or something happens. Yeah, no. And then
chemical X goes in water. That's bad for reasons why. Pretty straightforward.
Of course, yeah.
And now that has all been thrown out of the loop. He doesn't know quite how to approach some of these problems. The scientific method no longer seems to work.
Yeah, sometimes shit just happens and there's no explanation for it whatsoever. And not like in a small, random way, in a weirdly like the universe is malicious kind of way.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's his change. Like he hasn't really gone insane yet, but learning about this underlying phenomena of the universe that he didn't know about has been changing his perspective on the universe and the world.
The real world below what he thought was the real world, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Jackal?
Yeah, I feel like Jackal's gotten off a little easy, actually, in terms of career and sanity. Jackal, like, hardly took any sanity hits in the last couple adventures, and I guess I'll chalk that up to his SEAL training, just kind of falling back on the sort of hardcore resiliency that was drilled into him. But I think maybe some of the Delta Green work is manifesting as kind of like a detachment almost. Like I think whereas when we started with this, it's kind of like relying on his family as a emotional support group. Last time he went home, he was still on his sort of work leave. He didn't even bother making a visit or anything. So I think he's maybe kind of preoccupied with some of the weird shit that's happened. Not a super like scientific thinker like jet lag, but definitely works in a science environment and was grounded in reality, and that's starting to fray a little bit. And I think it just is more puzzling, disconcerting, unsettling than anything, and maybe kind of coasting a little bit. I think his adventures have also kind of showed him how far he's come from his former glory days. I mean, we had some really bad driving incidents, one after the other. Some pretty horrible shooting as well. So I think he's maybe just a little shaken in general.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's in many ways he is the most prepared for Delta Green because he has arguably the least to lose and also has been through the weirdest stuff from kind of a military background. So yeah, I reflect against a high power, so Sandy's managed to kind of maintain a certain level of intactedness. And last but definitely not least, we have Agent Yoden, who career's taken some hits. Something from the other side kind of poked him in the proverbial middle forehead. I'm not sure who's had it harder in some ways, Jumper or Yoden.
Well, Jumper's definitely taken a greater toll as far as sanity. Yoten's right on the edge, though. He's dangerously close to breaking in some way. And of course, that brief touch with something otherworldly, supernatural, extra-dimensional, some sort of dark mat, whatever that happened to be, that at the time, it just kind of seemed like, yeah, we're going to stand in this circle and, do all this shit. And of course, yeah, it's going to work. No. And then, he has this strange encounter that, didn't really harm him just physically. But but certainly harmed him mentally. Now, this is a guy that was already pretty paranoid, just in his usual everyday. Like that was just his. He was already a worrier, already somebody that didn't like to take risks, despite being in a somewhat risky career. That sort of thing. So on top of that, he's stuck in a situation where he's got a marriage that's fallen apart, kids that don't live with him, but that he has access to, presumably. No, there's a love. He doesn't really have a love life that's at least of any sort of anything that's solidified. He doesn't. He's in his job, which is something that he would enjoy, presumably, if everything else was going well, is not satisfying, and he's stuck with a boss that doesn't like him and doesn't appreciate him, and certainly didn't before he started disappearing and getting called up to weird assignments with whatever that terrorist task force or whatever whatever excuse we went to Idaho under. So yeah, this is definitely a road that it's not healthy for him to have gone down. And I'm not really sure what direction, as you mentioned, this could be, you said it's the end. I don't know. This could be the last session then, that implies, although I hope it's not.
Oh no, we have some stuff to get through before we even get to our wonderful trip to Kansas. But yes, so all this has been a long way of saying, to start this whole thing off, I'm going to see a sanity check from everyone. And this is a little bit of a different sanity check. So you really want to pass this one, and there's no immediate knock against your sanity if you fail.
Oh, that's good.
I got a critical 44 out of 76.
Excellent.
Big surprise here. I got a 45 out of 35, so I failed.
Yoden is 27 out of 53 success.
94 out of 78 failure.
All right, so if you have failed, you now have Delta Green bonds. What that means is you're now going to add every single member of the squad that you are not as a bond. They come in at half your charisma score. It's not a bad thing. You have this bond. It's a good thing. Bonds are great, right? And now for every bond you add, I need you to subtract 1d4 from your pre-existing bonds.
Oh, man.
I'd kind of like to do that.
We each had 3 bonds at half our charisma.
Only if you failed.
Okay.
So only Jumper and Jetlag in this case have to get these. And then
So they have to take 3d4 from both of their other...
Yes, but you have to do it individually. So it will be a roll per bond you add.
To clarify... Oh, you roll... So to clarify, I don't have to do this. I would kind of like to, but I don't have to do this. But if I were in this situation, I would roll a d4 for jet lag, and I would get 3 points, and I'd have to decide where those 3 points come from the bonds?
No, so the way it works is you roll, and then you have to add a bond for every one of the characters. And it comes in at whatever half of your charisma was. So that's 6, then it's 3. If it's 10, then it's 5, whatever that is. And then per bond you add, you roll a 1d4 and then you subtract that number per bond from the existing bonds you have. Basically, this is the game mechanifying the whole idea that Delta Green is slowly really not being great to the rest of your life.
Gotcha. So I add jet lag, and then I have to roll one for my kids, a d4, subtract one for my ex-wife, a d4, subtract
no,
one
so
for my...
you'd add jet lag, and you'd roll 1d4. Whatever that outcome is, you get to pick which bond essentially you're neglecting because you're more invested in your squad than your friends and family.
I got you.
So
That's
for
clear.
jet lag, I rolled a 2. And
they come in at half your charisma regardless of what it is. The good thing, you want to roll as low as possible on these because obviously it makes your bonds take less of a hit.
Right. So my charisma is 10. So if I were adding these bonds, all of them would be 5s. Jet lag, Jumper, and Jackal would all be 5s, and then the penalties are just separate. I have to roll for penalty, but Gotcha.
And
The
I will
points
take
aren't
that
migrating.
for my casual, my fling/casual lover. Ooh, for Yoden, because he's always a problem for me. I rolled a 4.
I'm a problem for you?
You're always a problem. I will take that away from my contact, my military contact. That went down quite a bit.
And rest assured, if you're feeling neglected by not doing this, this will probably pop up at least once more before we're done with this.
And then Jackal, who's not always a problem, but I did roll 3. I don't trust my mother anymore. I think she may be trying to set me up. I will take 3 points from my mother.
Yeah.
Poor Jumper. God, her life is horrible. I'm starting to feel sorry for my character.
All right, so we got all our kind of new bonds inserted there. Got all that rectified.
Yep, got mine done.
Yeah.
All right. How are your existing bonds at this point, I guess? Like, I don't think anyone wiped their bonds off the face of the earth with that, but...
No. All of them are still double digits except for Mr. Cobb, who was my military instructor. He's my military contact.
Yeah.
Kind of my mentor. You know?
Your charisma is also quite high, though, too, so that makes a lot of sense.
I start out with, 14 in all my contacts. Yeah, I think because of his military contacts, I'm thinking maybe I don't trust him at all now.
Yeah.
I'll still use him if I have to.
I'm in single digits for everything except my dog, who's still in double digits.
Nice.
Got a little priority.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, that dog's gonna love you no matter what, so.
I got bonds with 5 and
question,
4.
do you know if does Call of Cthulhu have bonds like this too? Or is this mechanic unique to Delta Green
thing?
Okay.
This is a Delta Green thing. Yeah. All right. So we're kind of now that we've gotten that little housekeeping detail out of the way, we're going to pick up where we left off in some ways. Your last mission went interestingly at the end, to say the least. You've all kind of come home in one way or another, and you just can't quite get away from this weird yellow symbol you keep seeing everywhere. You saw it on that letter that Herfelder got, and now it's not everywhere, but kind of like the worst possible place it could be, it shows up, or we at least expect it to be, it shows up, and that's bad. Thankfully, we've all exchanged numbers as part of the last operation, given how fantastically pear-shaped it went. You do have an address and a festival that is happening kind of in, we'll say like a week or so, give or take, in Brookville, Kansas, the Holly Festival. I guess, what's the play, I guess? Obviously, you have day jobs and lives to go back to in the kind of short term, but is the plan to kind of, like, you obviously are being, like, for lack of a better phrase, haunted by something, and as best you can tell, Delta Green's maybe not so much taking your calls, given how you left things with Miss Pine. So, are you texting each other? Are you calling each other? Are you emailing each other? Like, have you not made contact yet? Where is the squad, I guess, at this point?
If no one has another opinion, I would say that we probably haven't made contact yet, because it would be... it's not something we've done yet. It's not normal for us to be talking outside of an operation.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no. Agent Jumper's calling people. Starting with Yoden.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be reflective of the new kind of bond change as well. Like, it would make a lot of sense for Yoden to still be operating as normal, but Jetlag and Jumper are kind of, I need to get the band back together. Stuff is going badly. All right, so Agent Jumper, you're trying to track down Agent Yoden?
Yeah, we, well, I call and use that name. So we all set up.
Clyde Bowman.
Can't remember what it was.
Yeah. It's the name of the guy we investigated at the beginning.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know what's going on. I think either someone is messing with my mom, or my mom's trying to set me up. But if it's someone messing with my mom, we need to go investigate Kansas, because they convinced my mom to tell me to go vacation there.
I'm sorry, Jumper. What's going on?
Someone, because I don't think my mom would set me up, got to my mom, and they convinced her to pass on a message to me about going investigating or vacationing at that festival.
Well, so point of clarity. Your mom said Carcosa, not the town that was on the invitation. It was not Brookville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Your mom's encouraging you to go to the town of Carcosa.
Would Jumper have looked that up? Is that in Kansas?
Yeah, she definitely can look that up. Carcosa doesn't exist.
What? But she did say the festival, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that. Yeah, she's trying to get me to go to a town that doesn't exist and go to that festival. I think it's a code. I think it's a message. And it was meant for me. And we need to find out who sent this. We need to go investigate that festival.
Let me ask you something, Jumper.
Yeah.
Why would your mother? Did you ask her who put that idea in her head?
My mother has dementia. She can't hardly remember what she had last week, and she keeps asking for peas in her tomato soup.
Okay. So she's not in her right mind.
No, that's what I'm saying.
And you're sure she mentioned
utilized her to pass to get to me.
And you're sure she mentioned the festival specifically?
Yes.
Let me ask you, Jumper. Have you? Do you remember on that that invitation we found at Felder's place? There was a little weird yellow squiggle on it, right?
Yeah.
You seen that anywhere? Okay, because my son was coloring the other day when he was at my place, and I looked down on his paper, and I saw that symbol in bright yellow, and he had no yellow crayon.
You think your son's in on it?
I would find that highly unlikely. But given that our organization, whether or not we're even still part of it, I haven't heard from Pine as far as I know. I haven't deals largely in the supernatural. I think it would be safe to conclude that there is something supernatural at work here. I don't know if somebody talked to your mother, but I don't see how somebody could have engineered something like that. I don't see how they could have put that. It wasn't possible. He didn't have that color crayon. He could not have done that. He could not have put that on that paper. And I, sure as shit didn't go find a yellow crayon, draw it on there, and then put it in his art supplies that I know of. Maybe I did. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe I did that and I ate the crayon. I don't know. I guess that's as good an explanation as any. But we've seen some shit, and nothing would surprise me at this point. And I've been sitting here mulling it over because I swear I keep seeing that thing various places, and I've been sitting here mulling it over, trying to decide if I would sound too crazy calling one of you. And eventually I just decided that I didn't want to bother any of you, so I just assumed it was in my head.
No, it's not just in your head. I think somebody's coming after us. I think whoever's behind this, they're setting this up.
And do you think they talked to your mother?
I don't know. They somehow passed a message. I don't know if they physically talked to her, used radio waves. I don't know.
Some kind of magic? Or something with her dreams? Is that possible?
After what we've seen, anything's possible.
All right, Jumper, well, what do you think we should do about this?
I think we should go investigate that festival.
I agree. Okay, so how do we get? I mean, I'm not. No offense, but I don't want to go there just us two. So obviously, we gotta get the rest of the gang. So how do we do that? Is it a phone tree? Do you call Jackal? I call Jetlag, or what?
Sure, that works.
How do the four of us communicate in a safe way?
Oh, I thought that's where we set up this whole code thing.
I meant to collaborate. Doesn't make sense for you to call Jackal, me to call Jetlag, and then us to call each other back and try to suss out what we just talked about. I don't think. So how do we get everybody together?
How much are you into classical musicals?
I don't follow.
We'll just set up a chat room about classical musicals written by our friend that we met, and his lovely bride in the sewer. And they can join. Just don't say anything that, people could understand.
There are encrypted apps and chat rooms and things like that we could set one of those up. You're right.
Yeah, but I think if you do that, Delta Green's gonna look into it. The less we utilize anything like that, the less suspicious we're gonna.
I don't see how using something that's unencrypted would protect us from Delta Green at all. I figure if they're watching, they're going to see anything that we do online. We certainly monitor. We certainly have some capabilities to monitor suspects. Let me tell you. So, but what's a son of a bitch is those encrypted apps, because we don't have the. Yeah, supercomputers can hack them, but it would take like a century or something to try in different codes or whatever to get in there. So I think that would be our safest bet. I think that's a great idea.
Chime in for a second. Two of you are government agents. You, in theory, would have access to more secure lines of communication, hypothetically. You'll just have to go through work to get them, and that'll be a whole thing.
Well, if you want to set up something like that, that'll work.
I'll look into it. In the meantime, why don't you? I guess let's go with Plan A. Do you want to call Jackal or do you want to call Jetlag?
Oh, I can call Jetlag.
Okay, I'll call Jackal, and then then I guess we'll reconvene and figure something out. But we do have to get all four of us in some sort of communication, I think.
I guess, do you want to role play out the calls, or kind of just want to hand wave that and say you've made contact and the plan is now to try and move forward and establish some type of secure communication of some kind?
I'm fine hand waving the conversation until we get all together as a group.
All right, cool. Yeah, so who is going to go about the process of setting this thing up, I guess? There are government secured net channels you could go through and all that jazz, but there's a variety of ways you could go about doing this. From a character perspective, ironically, probably Yoden is in the best position because he's DEA. The EPA gets into stuff, but they're not kind of as secure about people snooping around reading their files, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that there are encrypted equivalents to Discord.
Yeah.
That even just consume, we get our hands on.
Yeah, so you could also go about that process too. If you wanted to set something like that up, you could also just do a more secure approach to that in some ways too.
Yeah, I think, I could try to use a work-related system.
Go with something easier first, actually. Does anyone actually have comp sci by any chance? As a skill?
I don't think I do. Let me check, though.
Have what?
Nope.
Computer
0%.
science.
I have a small bit.
How much is a small bit?
20%.
I have 40.
Yeah, so I think kind of by your powers combined, you could probably figure something out. It's working together, you guys add up to a pretty substantial comp side of thing. So yeah, kind of using your actual knowledge in the fields, you two could set something up. Like, it wouldn't be a super robust, well-designed thing, but it will be secure. It will be kind of a peer-to-peer style communication network that will give you the privacy you're looking for. I need to go through work for that even. Yeah, people set that type of stuff up all the time because it's a personal kind of secure thing. No one knows to look for it even. So is this like a chat line? Is this a phone call of some kind? How are you going about doing this?
Well, obviously, audio would be the preferred.
We're going to play out as audio, but like, I guess, how are you choosing to communicate in character?
I mean, I know that there's, in real life, there's something called Element that's encrypted Discord. It's just Discord, but
sure.
With like the same encryption that you have on Signal and WhatsApp and whatnot, I think. So that would be my go-to, I think. But I also don't have any computer science, so I don't know if my
you could use a consumer grade thing definitely for that type of stuff too. It doesn't necessarily matter that much to me. I guess it was more of a chance to use comp sci in a game when comp sci doesn't always pop up as the most useful skill hypothetically. Yeah, so you set something up. We'll kind of hand wave exactly what you set up because none of us are actually comp sci majors. We don't know exactly what you'd wind up doing in this situation. But yeah, you have a secure way of talking to each other now. It's nice and off the grid and didn't have to go through work for it even. What's the plan?
All right, is everybody on?
Jackal's here.
Jetlag here.
Well, listen, I'm still on official leave from work. I'm just kind of sitting here in Ohio. I'm just taking freaking judo lessons and seeing yellow symbols everywhere. I'm ready to do something about this mystery.
You too?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like just be carrying on my day, and all of a sudden something will catch me in the corner of my eye, and sure as hell, there it is again. I can't explain it really. Is anybody else getting that?
Yeah, I know you and I talked about that. It's like one of those things. It's like when you learn a new word and you see it everywhere. After that, except evil.
Yeah, I mean, words people are talking and writing all the time. I mean, this thing just it's like it shouldn't be carved into a signpost or whatever. It's just there for some reason.
I'm going to just say I'm really glad y'all are seeing the same sign I am. I thought I was losing my mind, going crazy or something. That yellow symbol been appearing everywhere for me. Even my dog freaking brought piece of fabric with the yellow symbol on it. Like, how does that happen? There's something going on here, and we need to investigate. But I'm glad you guys are here, too, because I thought I was all alone and just going insane.
Yeah, I wondered if I should call any of you. I'm glad the Jumper called. I saw my kid doodle it with, he was coloring, and it was on his paper, and he didn't have a yellow crayon. I double checked. It wasn't a yellow crayon. So I don't know how it got on there.
Jumper, are you okay? You hanging in there?
I just don't know how they got to my mom.
Got to your mom, huh?
Yeah.
Well, who's for heading down to... Well, let's backtrack a little bit. All of our books are in Idaho, right?
Yeah, no one's gone back and gotten them yet. I guess I'd also throw out there, they're not going anywhere necessarily. Like, you won't have time to kind of process and search through those, and probably do this at the same time, though, too.
Well, do we think we need those, or are people just interested in going to Kansas? What are we doing next?
I mean, I wanted those books in general. I don't think we need them for a mission. I just thought they might be helpful at some point to the organization, but or to us. I don't know. How many days? When is this thing?
So based on kind of what you found, this thing, the festival it starts like in 2 or 3 days. It ends, I guess, with the big museum reveal in about 5 days. Or in 5 days, I guess. There's no about.
I think those books will be useful to us at some point. Right now, I don't think we have time to worry about them. You guys stowed them somewhere safe, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think we have the time to memorize every little bit of information in there. We don't know what we would need, so I think we know that the information exists, and should a circumstance arise where we could go look something up, we know where they are, but just trying to memorize a bunch of facts on the off chance we might need them is out of scope for my personal time constraints with this particular project.
I second that.
Sounds good to me. So what are y'all's work situations like? I mean, is it even
Shitty.
feasible for you to go to Kansas?
I mean, with these yellow symbols appearing everywhere, I'm starting to give less of a rat's ass about work. I will do my best to convince my boss that it is work related, but otherwise I'll just use some personal time to go and I'll make it work. I think this is very important to me to address these issues for my own personal sanity.
I agree. Things that work for me are not ideal, but I don't know how much longer I could take this. And I just want it done. I just hope it's done.
Okay, so I guess the plan is to skip out on this once again, kind of take time off from work to go do this. Are you going ASAP? Are you gonna try and leave tomorrow, the day after? You're gonna wait till the end of the festival? What's the operation you're putting together? I guess this is your first kind of self-defined operation of this nature too. Previously, you've had kind of a handler there to tell you how this all is going to work.
All right.
What was the city name?
Brookville, Kansas, and calling it a city is generous. Calling it a town is generous. So actually, with that in mind, like, it would make sense. Like, kind of, you haven't got an amazing amount of research kind of handed to you from previous operations, but there's at least been some type of a briefing. Is it worth spending some time to kind of try and pull together some information on the town of Brookville, Kansas? Is that something you guys would think about doing? Like,
I mean, at the very least, I'd like to do some Google searching and digging on it.
Yeah, get a lay of the land, a map, maybe look at the hotels, restaurants, that kind of stuff. If nothing else, the basic logistics we want to look into.
Sure.
Yeah, would that be computer science?
That's just a search at that point.
66 out of 51 for Jackal Fumble.
I got an 84 out of 45, so that's a failure.
82 out of 53, failure.
36 out of 74, success.
All right, so finding information about Brookville, Kansas is kind of hard, actually. Almost like the town doesn't really exist in some ways. But you do eventually kind of find some stuff, and surprise, surprise, it is yet another small kind of middle of nowhere town. If you're looking at a kind of a digital map of this on the website, its kind of locations are listed as truck stop and Jenny's Liquor and a church. Again, not a populous place. Total population of 262 people top.
262?
Yeah.
Yoden, can you even see the museum there?
Do I see a museum?
No museum that you found, sorry. Yeah, no. But again, like, it's not exactly well... The information you're finding is like scant Wikipedia articles. There's no board of tourism for Brookville, Kansas.
Right. I don't see any museum, but I'm finding very little of what I would believe to be recent information on this town anyway, so that doesn't surprise me. I don't think that Google Maps goes through here very often.
It does show up there. You do find, like, there's a Google Maps of it and stuff like that. It's just not... There ain't much.
We kept that letter, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think I found it. Is it on my person? Sorry to... Or did we
Sure,
store
it matters too much to me who has it at this point, I guess. Like, I could also imagine you left it with the other stuff, hypothetically, and just took some pictures of it with your phones or something.
Yeah, I want to check that letter to see if there's an address on it for this museum.
No address. It's just kind of, it mentions the festival and the town, and that's about it. There's no Maybe the assumption is that like once you get there, it'll be obvious what the town is, kind of thing. Or like, it's hard to miss. Again, this is a unbelievably small town. It maybe kind of makes Malta look large and populated by comparison.
Man, why do they got to pick places where we show up and are the most conspicuous people there?
That's a good point. So, do we want to try to go during the festival and potentially, I mean, we could potentially blend in, but we could also very much not. What are your thoughts? Do we try to show up during the festival just to give us the most amount of time to investigate, in which case we got to be there in a couple of days? Or do we show up during? Do we wait till the end?
Well, I just feel like we're going to miss it if we go after the festival.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me that something's going to happen.
Well, and I guess to remind you, the letter you got was a thank you note to Felder for his generous donations to their museum, which in itself is inherently a tad suspicious.
Seeing as there's no music.
Well, again, like, it just might not be on the website yet, kind of thing. There is no website for the town. It could be this is like this festival, like what puts them on the map, kind of thing. This is how they're going to bring in the tourism, save the town, or something like that. You just don't know.
Does anybody know anything about, I don't know, festivals, world festivals, or word? You know, where's this word come from? Holly. Can I search for that?
Yeah.
85 out of 51 failure.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter in that case either. You spend a lot of time searching, and the name's like, it's a name for people, it's occasionally an abbreviation for stuff, but nothing that makes sense for a festival in Kansas necessarily. You're not really nailing this thing down whatsoever. It's kind of just a abbreviation. You find a couple people using it as like a username of some kind, some chat rooms and stuff like that. But again, it's just kind of a word. Like, maybe it's a misspelling, maybe it's someone like wrote the wrong thing down, who knows? But the word Holly, Hali, doesn't inherently mean anything by itself.
Well, I'm not really coming up with anything on the festival. It seems like it just doesn't really have to do with anything. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. All right. So if we go there, we got a couple of considerations. First being, where the hell do we stay? I don't see a hotel.
Well, I mean, why don't we just like rent a camper or something? Take it with us.
I mean, yeah, we could. I don't know how conspicuous that might be.
I mean, if we play up the whole just random tourists down the road spotted this little town and just wanted to check it out, yeah, they might suspect us, but no matter what we do, we're going to be suspected.
Do you think they know who we are already?
There's a chance, since they've been sending us messages.
All right, so a cover is going to be necessary, especially because we're not being given one. I mean, I guess we can use our credentials, but okay, so Salina, Kansas, isn't that far. It's actually only about 20 minutes away. That's got some hotels. We could stay there.
Sounds like a good idea.
And it's got, let's see.
I mean, what's in Kansas? Can we like pose like we're doing some kind of cattle study or something like that?
Well, there's a small Kansas State University Polytechnic campus in that town. We might be able to do something with that. I mean, do we want to try to say we're
state park a little bit southwest?
Okay.
Canopolis Lake State Park. Probably only 15 minutes away or so.
How do you spell that?
Kanoppolis.
Canopolis Lake, Marquette, Kansas, that's good. Okay.
It's like they got campsites too.
They do. Small. It looks pretty small, but I mean that lake. Maybe we're just visiting for the lake. Maybe we're doing a study on it. EPA. Is that possible?
I can study lakes all day.
Okay. Yep. And guess what? about 35, 45 minutes, depending on how we drive, from Salina. And the shortest way goes straight through Brookville. So I think that's going to have to be our cover. Unless somebody's got a better idea. I think that's as good as any.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Testing the waters.
And who's to say we don't stop in Brookville to find a bathroom or get a
a meal
or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's a good enough cover, and we'll see what happens. We probably won't be undercover for that long anyways before they figure something out as a miss.
Oh, yeah, that's real encouraging.
I think they're going to know who we are the moment we show up.
You seem like somebody's watching you, Jumper.
They got to my mom to pass a message on.
And that's a distinct possibility. But it doesn't have to necessarily be people that did this. When I tried that spell, I communicated with something. Communicate's a strong word. I was in contact with something that definitely was not human. And I think we've seen enough to safely say that there are entities with abilities beyond that of human beings. And that being the case, things that can slip in and out of paintings, things that can, I don't know, infest alligators and mutate them. I don't know. All sorts of bizarre things. That could be something that we're dealing with. So with that in mind, I don't know, maybe there's another powerful sorcerer like Felder that's there, that's pulling all these strings, that's messing with us specifically. Or maybe it's another group of cultists and they're going to be none the wiser, like that Big Joe was down in Louisiana. Now, whether or not somebody spoke with your mother, Jumper, I don't know. But several of us have, myself included, have experienced things that cannot have been done by a human in a reasonable fashion.
I agree. There are forces beyond humans here.
So, with that in mind, let's play it safe. Let's pretend, at least, that we're in town to study a lake. I don't know, Jetlag, would you have to call that in ahead? Do you have to call the authorities at the lake and just make sure that they know the EPA is coming in and test the waters, or how does that even work?
Yeah, I think that would be standard protocol to at least make the local state rangers aware that we are going to be in the area, potentially on the water, taking samples, looking at fish, whatever. They usually don't have any concerns about federal jurisdiction. They consider us to be pretty good stewards of the environment, so it is good to make them aware, but I don't foresee any complications from that.
Okay, and you can come up with a pretty convincing cover.
Yeah, easily enough. We'll say we're looking at rumors of fish populations decreasing due to increased motor vehicle usage on the lake or something like that.
Yeah, and what if they ask why we just happened upon, why we care about a little lake in Kansas? Is it because we've seen this in similar lakes? Or testing a theory, something like that? Is that how that works?
That's a good question. I think we could just reasonably say we've seen it in other lakes, and it if the fish populations decrease, tourism decreases, and the economy of the area goes down. So it's important both for the natural health of the area as well as its economic health.
I'm convinced.
All right, that's the story. How do we get there?
Well, I would drive, but it's 13 hours. Yeah, I'll pay for this myself. I mean, I'll jump on a quick flight over to Kansas. Looks like Selena's got a little regional airport.
Yeah, is that going to be more than just a patch of dirt that a plane can land on?
Well, let me
You could probably fly into Kansas City. I bet that's not too far.
Yeah, let me see how far away that is.
Wichita.
Yeah, Wichita looks not terribly far. I think they have an airport. I mean, I imagine.
Well, and so because you brought it up, the kind of region or kind of county of Salina has less people in it than fit in a typical NFL sports stadium. The entire population of the region could very easily fit into any major NFL's team's stadium with room to spare.
Yeah, it looks like Selena's closest to Wichita. I don't know. I imagine flights are going to be cheapest to Kansas City, so I'll probably just fly into Kansas City and grab a rental car.
I think I would try to just meet you there and jump in your rental with you.
All right.
Yeah, so that's something that we should all do.
I think we should all meet in Kansas City, honestly.
And do we want just one car? Does it make sense to try rent two? Does it make more sense to stay together?
So far on these missions, we hardly needed a vehicle. I mean, we've needed a vehicle, but haven't needed more than one, so we just drive together.
Yeah, and looking at Brookville, it looks like you could walk across the whole town in about 10 minutes. So.
Yeah.
All right,
And
works for me.
I guess to give you kind of some more context for the area, the University of Central Florida has more students than this entire county has people.
Isn't Topeka the capital?
Kansas? That sounds right.
It's like so small.
It's Kansas. Yeah, Topeka is the capital. The largest city is Wichita. Keep that in perspective. Not to knock the fine state of Kansas. I've known people that were wonderful from there, but not a lot going on in Kansas.
All right. Well, time do we meet?
When is this? It's in like 5 days or something?
Yeah, that's
right?
when the festival allegedly ends, but it starts in like a day or two from where you're talking about this now.
I think we should get there sooner than later in case something does happen during the festival. I'd rather be there than seeing the aftermath and trying to piece it together after it happened.
All right, so what flights are we seeing?
I mean, I can be into Kansas City by tomorrow.
Same here.
I can call in sick to work again, I guess.
I can leave at any time.
All right, tomorrow by 1 p.m.
Seems a little soon, but festival starts in 2 days.
Tomorrow evening, you want to meet in the late afternoon, drive into Salina, and call it a night, and then we'll start fresh in Brookville next day.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's. I got a flight here. Says we'd be touching down around a little before 8. I'm gonna take that. What time can you guys get in, Jumper? Obviously, that's out of Reagan. You can make it there too, right?
Yeah, it ain't going to be a problem to make it there at all.
Okay, so Jumper and I will be on the same flight, touching down a little before 8. Can you guys arrive around the same time?
Yes, sir.
Yep, I got one that looks good.
All right. I will see you all tomorrow night.
Kind of a day in the office, then it's off to Kansas for everyone.